What is up everyone, Shokari here, and today I am back with another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet video. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to get into competitive Pokemon. Competitive Pokemon has been around since about Diamond and Pearl officially, and has been popularized by websites such as Pokemon Showdown and a lot of content creators who base their entire channel around competitive Pokemon. In Scarlet and Violet, we have two official ranked ladders, one for single battles, which are one-on-one, which you are very familiar with, just playing through the game normally, and double battles, which are 2-on-2. Double battles is the official competitive format that is seen at tournaments and the World Championships, so while I'm mostly going to be covering that, a lot of what I am going to tell you guys will apply to single battles as well. For single battles, you have your team of up to 6 Pokemon, and you pick 3 of them to take to battle. For double battles, again, you have 6 Pokemon, but this time you pick 4. To understand competitive battles, we have to really dive into a lot of mechanics that the game does not tell you about, but are very much present from the get-go. These are things such as individual values, effort values, abilities, natures, items. There's so many things that go into making a competitive Pokemon team and making it work that you probably don't realize. To give an example, in double battles, a lot of move choices open up that you otherwise would never be using in the game. These are moves like Helping Hand, Ally Switch, just stuff that really lets you kind of strategize and synergize a team together. I've already covered EV training in another video, and for the most part for this video I'm going to try to be brief but give as detailed a description as I can without overwhelming you guys. Timestamps will be posted in the description so you can skip to whatever part you need, and every resource I mention is going to be linked down below as well. So to start with, let's go over just some basic stuff like types. There are probably some things about each Pokemon type you probably didn't know. Grass Pokemon are immune to powder moves. This includes Stun Spore, Sleep Powder, Poison Powder, Spore, which is a very common form of control in competitive Pokemon. Spore especially being very useful as it is a 100% accurate sleep move, so it is a guaranteed sleep on whatever it hits, unless it's a Grass-type Pokemon. Electric Pokemon can't be paralyzed. Fire Pokemon can't be burned. Poison Pokemon can't be poisoned. You see, that list kind of goes on. Of a more important note, Dark-type Pokemon are unaffected by moves boosted by the ability Prankster. Prankster is an ability that Grimmsnarl has. Let me actually go get to it right now. Prankster says, gives priority to the Pokemon's status moves. Status moves being stuff like Thunder Wave, Scary Face, Reflect, Light Screen. Now, what's priority? Priority is the speed order for moves. All Pokemon moves have a natural speed priority assigned to them. Most of them are 0, being neutral, but some have very positive numbers, like, for example, Helping Hand and Protect have +4 priority, I believe, whereas stuff like Fake Out, Extreme Speed have +3. Moves that always go first, like Mach Punch, Aqua Jet, Bullet Punch, these have +1. And Prankster essentially gives these status moves +1 priority, meaning they will move before most other moves. And this can be a very powerful tool, but Dark Pokemon are immune to those moves. So if Grimmsnarl tries to use Thunder Wave against a Dark Pokemon, it's not going to work. Which brings us to another point, abilities. Abilities are very important in competitive Pokemon, and a lot of them that have seemingly little impact in your regular gameplay could actually be very, very strong in competitive Pokemon. A good example is Arcanine or Gyarados, because they have Intimidate as an ability. And Intimidate, when the Pokemon is sent out, at that moment, it will lower the attack of its opposing Pokemon. In singles, this can be very strong. In doubles, this is even stronger because it's affecting 2 Pokemon at once, and potentially putting them in a very bad spot from the get-go. This also makes abilities like Defiant or Competitive that we have Pokemon like King's Gambit or even Annihilate, which this Annihilate doesn't have Defiant, but I have some others that do. But Defiant being very good because anytime one of your stats are lowered, your attack goes up 2 times, which is very huge. So it turns that -1 from Intimidate into a +1 because we go -1, +1 to 0, +1 to +1. So Defiant becomes very strong very quickly. Abilities like Gardevoir's, which doesn't have it right now, but Telepathy, which allows her to avoid attacks from her allies. These are moves that hit everything on the field, like Earthquake, Discharge, which makes her a very good partner for Pokemon like Garchomp, who want to just spam Earthquake. So there's a lot of abilities that become very, very good and competitive. Another good example being something like Pelipper, Drizzle. It sets up the rain when Pelipper enters the field. Rain's very good because it allows Pokemon with Swift Swim to double their speed. So you could very easily have a situation where you have Pelipper and a Swift Swim Pokemon out, you send them both out, and now that Swift Swim Pokemon is going to be hopefully faster than anything else on the opponent's side. So you're allowing these Pokemon that otherwise might not be so good to become better than they are by themselves. So abilities become very important. Move choice is also very important. As I said, moves like Helping Hand and Ally Switch, which have literally no effect in single battles, are very strong in double battles because Helping Hand boosts the damage of your ally's move by 50%. Ally Switch swaps locations, so if, let's say, your opponent is targeting your Gyarados with Thunderbolt, you Ally Switch, well now it's hitting this thing instead. Gyarados is safe. Very powerful tool. Another thing that pops up very often in competitive battles is dynamic speed. This isn't so apparently obvious in single battles as it is in double battles, but let's say I use Thunder Wave on a Pokemon. Well, in addition to it potentially being paralyzed and not being able to attack, its speed is also reduced, and that reduced speed comes into play that very same turn. So in double battles, if I use Grimmsnarl, as another example, to use Thunder Wave, which now has priority because of Prankster, on an opposing Pokemon that is faster than what I have, that Pokemon is now slower, my ally gets to move first, and can now possibly KO the Pokemon I Thunder Waved. So as you can see, it's very good on these kind of combinations that just really work in your favor if you can utilize them properly. Another big part of competitive Pokemon are held items. You can have Pokemon hold items. Some of them are very good, some of them don't do much, but we can get stuff like, let's see, Focus Sash, an item to be held by Pokemon. If the holder has full HP and is hit with a move that should knock it out, it will endure with 1 HP, but only once. This is a very, very strong item to put on very frail Pokemon that are very strong. This is very good on something like, let's say, Gengar, a very powerful, very fast Pokemon, but if Earthquake is coming its way, it's gonna die. But with Focus Sash, it gets to live, and that one extra turn that it has could be very impactful. We have berries. We have stuff like Citrus Berry, which acts at when the Pokemon has 50% or less HP, they eat the berry and recover some HP. This comes up a lot of times on bulky Pokemon like Arcanine or different forms of Rotom, who have very good defenses and would like to be able to stay in the fight a little bit longer because they can eat a hit. So what items your Pokemon are holding become very important as well. And a thing of note is that in the official ranked battles, your Pokemon can only hold one of any held item. I probably phrased that weird, so let me explain. If one of my Pokemon is holding Focus Sash, none of my other Pokemon can hold Focus Sash, so they all have to have individual, unique items for official competitive ranked battles. So what goes into making a Pokemon competitive? Well, there's a lot of different things you can do to make a Pokemon competitive. You can do the old-fashioned way, which is just breeding Pokemon, trying to get very good ones, and doing a sort of longer method of raising a Pokemon up to be very competitive. But ever since Sword and Shield, with raid Pokemon, it makes getting competitive Pokemon a lot easier, because the higher the raid, the better the Pokemon. Allow me to explain. Pokemon have what are called individual values, or IVs. These are a number between 0 and 31, 31 being the highest, and IVs control how high or low a stat can be. So if we take a look at some of the Pokemon I have, these are Pokemon from raids. You're going to need the judge function for this first, which you need to have beaten the game, which is going through Area 0 the first time and beating all that. Once you've done that, go to a Pokemon Center. They will give you the judge function. Simply go to any Pokemon you see where it says plus view stats, plus judge. And this lets you see the IVs of the Pokemon. Best is 31. Perfect. That's what we want. 5-star raids give 4 perfect IVs on average. You can get more if you're lucky. 6-star raids give about 5 perfect IVs. It is possible to get 6 perfect IV Pokemon from raids. It's definitely doable, but this gives us a very good starting point, regardless of how we choose to go about making a Pokemon's IVs better. If you have the Bottlecap items, these are obtained from raids. If you have the Bottlecap, if your Pokemon is at least level 50, if you have the Bottlecap, you can use one of these if your Pokemon is at least level 50 to raise one of its IVs to perfect. I'll go over doing that later when we get to actually building a team, but Bottlecaps become very useful when you're trying to actually make a Pokemon better, or if, let's say, it's a Pokemon you used on your journey, you've grown very attached to it, you can just use a Bottlecap on it to make it competitively ready. That way you don't have to go through this really long process of trying to catch and breed perfect Pokemon. You can just Bottlecap it, and there you go. And then there is EVs, or effort values. You've probably heard the term EV training thrown around at some point. If IVs control how high or low a stat can be, EVs are what helps you reach that maximum point. EVs I completely covered in another video. I'm going to link it down below. I highly suggest you watch it, but it's very easy to get into EV training. The nature of a Pokemon also becomes very important in competitive battling. As we can see over here, this Pokemon is pretty hardy by nature. Hardy does not do anything. So most natures increase one stat and decrease another stat. That's how most natures work. There are a few that do nothing. The ones that do nothing, we don't care about. We need them to be doing something, because there is always a stat you're wanting to boost, and there is always a stat you're wanting to decrease. Always. No exceptions. So let's see if we can find an example. So here we can see on this Talonflame, you can see there's the red arrow by its speed going up, and the blue arrow by its defense going down. So its speed is being boosted, its defense is being dropped. That's what natures do. So understanding what you kind of want, what nature you want on your Pokemon becomes very important. There's a lot of resources you can use, which I'll get to here shortly. But just kind of knowing what you want to do is very important. So let's use Scizor as an example. So since it has a neutral nature, that lets us see its stats very clearly. As we can see, Scizor's special attack is very bad. We are never going to want its special attack. Its special attack is so bad that if we were to even fully train it, its attack would still be higher. So what does this mean? It means basically any nature we use, we want to lower its special attack because it's a stat we are never using. Now, this isn't 100% the case. There are sometimes you might want to lower its speed because you're using Trick Room, which makes it so slower Pokemon move first. But for the most part, Scizor does not care about special attack, so we would pick natures that lower its special attack. So how do we go about actually building a competitive team? Well, before we actually build one in-game, what I like to do is test one out first, because I don't want to waste all that time, all of those resources building up a team just for me to not like it. So what we're going to do is we are going to go over to Pokemon Showdown. Pokemon Showdown is a free website you can use. It is a competitive battling simulator. You can make a fully competitive team in mere minutes and then test them out against other people. I highly recommend this if this is something that you are wanting to get into. It's very good to try things out. You can see a lot of cool things. So let's say we want to make a team. We're going to go over to the team builder. We're gonna hit. Well, I'm gonna make a brand new team, right? So we're gonna hit new team. The format is gonna be Scarlet Violet Doubles VGC 2023 Series 1. This is the current ranked season, so we can only use Pokemon that are legal in this season. So where do we start? What do we want? There's many ways you can build a team. You can pick a Pokemon you like and try and build around it. You can see its strengths and weaknesses and try to supplement it. You can use a team someone else made that you think is really cool. There's a lot of ways you can make a team. There might be a certain strategy you want, like, oh, I want to do a team based on rain, or I want to do a team based on sand, or I want to do a team based on Trick Room, or Tailwind. So many different ways you can make a team. What I like to do personally is I like to use a website called Pikalytics, link down below. And Pikalytics, if we click VGC 2023 Series 1, we can see what the most popular Pokemon are. We can see their stats, what moves are commonly ran on them, what teammates they currently have. We currently don't have data for common items or abilities or EV spreads, but that is something that once we have more data in the game, they will have access to, and you can just see things that are very commonly ran on Pokemon. So as you can see, Amoonguss is currently the most used Pokemon in Sword and Shield, or sorry, Scarlet Violet. These are the moves it very commonly runs. Partners, very common to it. So what I typically do is I make a list of, like, let's say the top 50 Pokemon that are being used. I make a list of them, and then I make a list for each one of their strengths and their weaknesses, so I know what they are capable of and how to beat them. And then from there I just kind of like pick, okay, so here is what I can use that's good against a lot of these top picks, and then you try to balance your team so that you don't really have any glaring weaknesses. Obviously your team can't be perfect against everything, but you can at least try to cover for most things. There's always going to be something your team can't prepare for, because you only have 4 moves per Pokemon, you only have 6 Pokemon, you can't possibly cover for all of them. But you do the best you can. So you either have a game plan you want to try and stick to, or you're just trying to like really counter the meta, or you're just trying to make a nice catch-all team that does kind of everything. Whatever you want to do. So let's go ahead and build a team. So on Showdown, so Pokemon has a lot of what are called cores. These are like a small group of Pokemon that have very good synergy together and cover for each other and work well together. A good example of this is the Fire, Water, Grass core, as you see in starters. Why is that? Well, what is Fire weak to? Fire is weak to ground, rock, and water. Well, water resists water, so that works. Water beats ground and rock, that also works. So water can cover for fire. What is water weak to? Grass and electric. Well, fire beats grass, and grass resists electric. So that works out. What's grass weak to? Grass is weak to flying, poison, bug, I think ice. And while none of those 3 types cover for flying, they can cover for the other ones. So with grass, water, fire, you basically have just from those 3 types, a very strong synergy. And then if the Pokemon has any secondary types, those can help cover any additional weaknesses you might have. So let's start with like a really good example. Now this is for doubles, by the way, but singles, the theory remains the same. Let's start with something Arcanine, right, as a very good fire type. Arcanine is very reliable. Arcanine you can do a lot with. So at this point, we get to choose what item do we want Arcanine to have. Well, right now, I'm not sure, because I can only have whatever item is on Arcanine, I can't have on anything else. So I need to make sure it's not something anything else is going to do. Now, Arcanine is a very versatile Pokemon. You can run it a lot of different ways. I know I want it to have the ability Intimidate, because I want to weaken my opponents. Flash Fire makes this Pokemon immune to fire moves, and then it boosts its fire damage if it's hit by one. That's pretty good, but it's not really what I'm looking for. Justified, if it's hit by a dark attack, its attack is raised by 1 stage. A decent strategy with like really offensive Arcanine, but we don't really have anything to supplement that. So I think Intimidate is overall the better plan here. So next we have moves. Well, what do we want Arcanine to do? I want Arcanine to be very supportive. So I want to have Will-O-Wisp so it burns something, which helps weaken physical attackers even more on top of the Intimidate. Being able to spread burn around is very strong. I want to have Snarl. Snarl has a 100% chance to lower the foe's special attack by 1. So that's basically Intimidate with damage, and it hits both opponents. So we are really making it to where our opponents are getting weakened with this Arcanine. I want it to be able to also deal a bit of damage as well, so it needs a really good fire move. So if we just hit fire type, this shows us a list of fire moves Arcanine can learn. And let's see, I think Flare Blitz is pretty good. Very strong, has recoil, which is okay. 10% chance to burn as well, because Will-O-Wisp only has 85% accuracy, so maybe Flare Blitz can burn. And for our last slot, now in doubles, Protect is a very good move to run on basically anything. You don't really lose out by running Protect, because anything that helps keep you alive longer is generally good. And Protect is very good if it's able to stop an opponent's turn long enough for you to gain an advantage. So Protect would be a very good filler move here. But I want to run Helping Hand because I want to boost the damage of my ally, because this is a very supportive Arcanine. Once Arcanine has done its job, it's weakened the opponent, I don't really care if it's on the field anymore. So Helping Hand is something I want. Now for the EVs, as we can see, the IVs are set to 31 automatically. EVs, you can kind of set however you want with the slider. You can type in a number. Just remember, the first 4 points, the first 4 EVs equals 1 stat point. Then after that, every 8 EVs equals 1 stat point. For level 50 Pokemon, which is what ranked is set to, is 50. So I need to think about what EVs I want, but that is based on what I want Arcanine to do. Again, I'm not entirely sure, so I'm going to come back to this. Next, it's like, okay, what do we want? Well, if we're going with the Grass, Water, Fire core, what's a good grass type? Well, Amoonguss. Amoonguss is the most used Pokemon by far for a reason. And yeah, it's just a very solid Pokemon to have. So item, again, we'll get back to this, but what moves do we want? Spore. Spore will put the Pokemon to sleep. Causes the target to fall asleep, 100% accuracy. Very good move. Completely shutting down a Pokemon for a couple turns, so strong. Let's see, Rage Powder is a very good move. Again, this move has no use in singles, but in doubles, it's insane. The foe's moves target the user on the turn used. So what will happen is, on a turn I use Rage Powder, my opponent's attacks will be redirected to Amoonguss. Very strong. Now this doesn't affect moves like Earthquake, which hit everything on the field, but for anything that is single target, Rage Powder is a lifesaver. Now what else do we want Amoonguss to do? Amoonguss can stay on the field for a long time. I want to give Amoonguss Protect because, again, just buying it a little bit of time is very helpful. Its ability, I forgot, we want its ability to be Regenerator. Pokemon restores 1/3 of its maximum HP when it switches out. So if Amoonguss starts getting low, we can switch it out and it comes back healthy. And I think for this last move, I want it to have Clear Smog. This will reset all of the target stat changes to 0. Pokemon like to boost up with moves like Swords Dance, Dragon Dance, Nasty Plot, Calm Mind. So hitting them with Clear Smog eliminates all that and resets them to 0. Very, very effective. Now, I know what item I want Amoonguss to run. It's Aka Berry. This halves the damage taken from a super effective fire attack one time, and then the berry is consumed. So this means if we're getting hit by a very strong fire move, we're going to live. As for the EVs, this is a build I have seen before and used before on Amoonguss in Sword and Shield. I don't remember exactly what this is trying to achieve, but I know it is very effective. Now I'm running a speed down nature because Amoonguss is already very slow with base 30 speed. I want 0 in the speed IV, so I'm even slower. And this is because if for any reason I'm in Trick Room, Amoonguss can potentially move before something, because the slower Pokemon move first in Trick Room. So letting Amoonguss go first and spore something is very strong. Now, just to show how good this is, I'm going to go to the Pokemon Showdown damage calculator. Again, linked below. Let's go ahead and put Amoonguss. Again, we're going to set it to level 50. We're going to put in our EVs with the Sassy Nature. Now, this is just to show you how strong Aka Berry Amoonguss can be, in addition to the EVs. Let's go ahead and go to Arcanine, who is one of the better fire types this current gen. So let's say I have a very strong Arcanine, fully trained in attack, adamant nature, and I give him a choice band, which boosts his attack by 50%. And I give him Flare Blitz, his strongest move. Oh, take off Helping Hand, because that was on there. So, as you can see, Amoonguss survives this. This is one of the strongest fire moves we can hit it with, and he's living. So that is incredibly strong. Let's go to Torkoal, the next best one. Torkoal, very common Pokemon in Trick Room because it's very slow and very powerful. Torkoal usually has max special attack, a quiet nature to slow it down even further. It usually runs Charcoal as an item. The Sun is out because Torkoal's out. And Eruption, the strongest fire move in the game. Even stronger under Sun. Look at that. Look at what all... Amoonguss survives that. Like, this is almost as strong a fire move as we can imagine. And Amoonguss survives it. So, yeah. This is a very strong spread. Amoonguss surviving is only bad news for the opponent. Okay, so now we need a water type. There's a lot of good options we can use. I want to go for Rotom Wash. A very strong, reliable Pokemon. I want this to be pretty bulky, so I want a Citrus Berry. I want to have Nasty Plot, so it can be strong at the same time. Hydro Pump for a good water move. I want to give it Discharge for the extra paralysis chance, because if we look at its electric attacks, Discharge has a 30% chance to paralyze. Thunder does as well, but it's not very accurate, whereas Thunderbolt only has a 10% chance. So Discharge is going to be very strong, and there's a reason why I'm using Discharge as well. And then Protect, just to keep it safe. And, again, this is a really old Rotom Wash set that I'm going to be running with a Modest Nature. This is a Rotom set that's been around for a long time. It hits a lot of the right things, gives you a good amount of Bolt, good amount of speed, good amount of power. So, yeah, so this is a very solid Fire, Water, Grass core. Now let's just say... Now I went ahead and looked up a build for Arcanine because I wasn't sure what I wanted to run him. So shout out to Moxie Boosted for this Arcanine set. I really like it. Safety Goggles, immune to powder moves, and damage from Sandstorm or Hail. Now as we mentioned, grass types are immune to powder moves. So now Arcanine is immune to them. Importantly, that means Amoonguss. It means Rage Powder cannot redirect it. It means Spore cannot put it to sleep. So Arcanine is now a very good Amoonguss counter, because Amoonguss can't do anything to it. As for the EVs, he was running 244. 116 with a jolly nature. So this helps make Arcanine very tanky, very durable, and the 116 here is going to come into play with something later in this build. His was a little bit more offensive. He had extreme speed instead of helping hand. But yeah, this seems like a very solid build. Moxie's a very good player, so I trust that he knows what he's doing with this. But yeah, the speed actually inspired me. Okay, so let's round out this team. We need something very strong to attack with, something powerful, something that is Garchomp. Garchomp is one of the strongest Pokemon we have access to right now, so I want to use Garchomp. And Garchomp pairs really well with Rotom Wash, because Discharge hits everything on the field, but Garchomp is a ground type, so it is immune to electric attacks, so Discharge won't affect it. Rotom Wash has Levitate, which makes it avoid ground moves. Garchomp has Earthquake, which hits everything on the field and is ground, so you can literally spam Discharge and Earthquake, and both of these two are safe from each other. I want Garchomp to have a Clear Amulet. This is a new item. Prevents other Pokemon from lowering this Pokemon's stat stages. This means that if Intimidate comes out, Garchomp's attack is not lowered. Very good. We want Garchomp to be as strong as possible. So let's go ahead and put that Earthquake on him. I want to give him a good Dragon move because, you know, in case we see other Garchomps. But Dragon's also just a good neutral type to hit things with. Let's give him Swords Dance so he can boost his attack a bit. This pairs really well with Amoonguss. You use Rage Powder, so everything attacks Amoonguss, meaning Garchomp can get a Swords Dance off safely. And we'll also give him Protect for some added protection. And then we're just going to make him min-maxed attack and speed, move as fast as we can, do as much damage as we can. This is meant to do damage. He is not meant to eat a hit. Now, one thing I want to change his Tera type to ground. This lets me make Earthquake even stronger and even more spammable. These three, I'm fine with where they are. Personally, I don't think I'm ever going to Terastallize Amoonguss. He's not meant for it. Arcanine will at least get a stronger Flare Blitz out of this. And Rotom Wash has no weaknesses at this point because Electric's only weak to ground, and Levitate makes it immune to ground moves. So I'm pretty fine with that right now. I said the speed on Arcanine was very interesting. That was because of Icy Wind being run. This was on Flutter Mane because we thought Flutter Mane would be illegal at the time, but I'm going to put it on Gengar. I'm going to give Gengar a Focus Sash because he's very frail. I want him to survive long enough to get Icy Wind off. Icy Wind will lower the speed of both opponents by 1 stage, and at that point, Arcanine is then faster than Dragapult, which is basically the fastest thing in the format. We don't talk about Electrode because no one uses Electrode. So how do we run this out? Well, Shadow Ball. Good, solid secondary move. Strong Ghost move. Sludge Bomb. Very good to hit Fairies with, who I don't have a great time with at the moment. And then we'll also give it... you know what? I don't want to give it Protect. I'll give it... Haze. Haze will eliminate all stat changes on the field. This is very good for Pokemon like Dondozo, who get a lot of stat boosts, and this basically makes them worthless, kind of. So, again, we're going to min-max this Gengar. His whole purpose is to do damage, and then kind of haze things, maybe. So yeah. And that synergizes well with the Arcanine, because now Arcanine can outspeed Garchomp and burn it. He can outspeed Dragapult and burn it. He can outspeed Masquerada and burn it. So that's very good synergy there. As you can see, we have a lot of very good synergies on this team already. And for this last slot, I want something that can kind of cover some of the weaknesses of this team. I have no Trick Room. I have no Tailwind. So what is something that can kind of cover for me in both options? And my thought was Hariyama. Hariyama gets Fake Out the Tailwind user, so I can then KO it. No Tailwind for the enemy. It's very slow, so it's good under Trick Room, so it kind of just works out. Now this set was also taken from Moxie Boosted, because I've never really ran Hariyama before, and his seemed really cool, but this is a slight variation on it. So, Flame Orb and Guts. Guts, when you have a status condition, your attack is boosted by 50%. It also ignores Burn having your damage. So, we get a really big benefit here. We get to be status, so we can't be put to sleep or paralyzed or poisoned, and we also get a big attack boost out of it. Well, I want to run Fake Out. That's pretty obvious. What I also want to run is Wide Guard. The reason being, I am very weak to moves I can't redirect from Amoonguss, and Wide Guard will protect both of my allies from moves that would hit both of them. This is stuff like Earthquake, Discharge, Dazzling Gleam from Sylveon, which could be kind of scary into Garchomp. Icy Wind as well would be very scary. Just things that like I don't kind of want to run into, and it gives some added protection. And then Close Combat, a very good fighting move, and which is going to be very scary with Guts, and Bullet Punch, so he can kind of move first and kind of pick something off. Moxie gave him a Steel Tera type, which is good. That also makes him resist Fairy types. Where is Steel? There it is. While making Bullet Punch even stronger. So I really like that adaptation, and the EV spread is taken directly from him because, again, he knows what he's doing. I've never ran Hariyama, so I have no idea kind of what to expect here. 2v2 special defense, 28 attack, 36 speed, or defense. Now that leaves 4 points remaining. I don't really want to put it in speed because that kind of hurts me in Trick Room. There's also no point in me putting it in special attack, so I'm just going to leave it there. Sassy Nature to lower our speed even more for Trick Room, and 0 just to make sure we go as slow as possible. And there we go. We have a competitive team built and ready to test in Showdown. Now the reason I say test is because we want to do a few battles, see what we like, see what we don't like. I'll do one battle here for you guys kind of quickly, just to kind of show you how this plays, but I already know I like this team, so there's nothing I'm really going to change. So up here, format, the VGC 2023 Series 1, battle. We're going to look for a opponent. So we're going to put on the timer just to kind of simulate the in-game timer for Scarlet and Violet. It's not the same, but you get the idea. So they have Meowscarada, Kilowattrel, Toxapex, Tyranitar, Tinkaton, and Altaria. Kilowattrel has Tailwind, I know that much. I'm not really sure what's going on with the rest of this team. I don't want to lead Arcanine because Kilowattrel usually has competitive, and that'll boost its special attack if it's intimidated. Hariyama I'm fine with, though. They don't have Trick Room, they don't have any real speed control outside of that. So I think I'm fine leading Hariyama and Gengar, because that can deal with most things here. I think I like Garchomp in the back, and probably... Actually, probably Rotom Wash, if I'm... Like, Amoonguss... Actually, Amoonguss might be good. Actually, I'll do Amoonguss just for the extra safety. So they're probably leaning Kilowattrel here. Altaria and Toxapex. Okay, interesting. I don't know what's supposed to be going on here. So Altaria makes... removes any weather effects. Toxapex... I don't know what this is doing here. So I'm personally fine just using Fake Out on Altaria and a Shadow Ball. Okay, so it's a very bulky Altaria since it didn't kill that. Toxic my Hariyama, but they activated Guts in the process. So our Flame Orb doesn't go off. I probably could have Terastallized, but it's not really a big deal. So I'm fine with going into a Bullet Punch into another... Actually, does Dragon resist poison? I don't know. I'm going to say it doesn't. I'm just going to like double up into the Altaria to try and KO it, because I don't know what it's supposed to be doing. Okay, so the Toxapex has Icy Wind for speed control, so now my speed is lowered one stage. So now they have Masquerada. I'm probably going to try and Sucker Punch the Gengar, which Dark is super effective against Ghost. So I can Bullet Punch it, and actually just Haze. Actually, Haze doesn't do anything from here, but I can switch into Amoonguss. Just U-turning out. Okay. So now the Kilowattrel is going to be trying to Tailwind most likely. It might be discharging here as well. I don't know. So I'm just going to Wide Guard and put it to sleep. This covers for discharge. It covers for Icy Wind. Amoonguss gets saved by the Wide Guard. It possibly would have gone down there, but now Kilowattrel is asleep. And now we can just kind of... No, we don't want to Terastallize just yet. Yeah, I'm just going to Close Combat the Kilowattrel and Spore the Toxapex. I probably don't get... Oh, I do get to put it to sleep. That's actually very useful. Here on my thing, it says actually really good. It lets me bring the Garchomp in for free. And we can actually just Swords Dance up and kind of hopefully clear Smog the Kilowattrel. Good, that actually killed it. Okay. Very good so far. Yeah, Scarlet. So now we're just going to Tera Ground. We want Earthquake to be stronger. We're going to Earthquake here, and we're actually going to protect the Amoonguss and keep it alive, because they're probably going to target it to try and knock it out. And the Garchomp knocks out both of them, and so we win the battle, because you pick 4 out of your 6. So there we go. We won that pretty easily, even though we had no idea what the opponent was trying to do. So now that we've gotten the team tested, let's go ahead and try to build the team in the game. So we already know the Pokemon we want, so let's see if we have any of them kind of lying around. We have Amoonguss, and this Amoonguss is pretty good. It's not exactly what we need, but we can make it work. I have a Hariyama here. This is one that I just caught in the wild and was training up for raids. I didn't care about its IVs, but we're going to care about its IVs here. So we'll take that. Here's the Gengar I got in the raid. This is kind of helpful because otherwise I have to trade a Haunter to evolve it, so I'm probably just going to Bottlecap this guy. Here's a Garchomp. I think this was a Wild Tera Garchomp. So I could Bottlecap him, or I could breed him. I think I'm just going to breed him, and I'm just going to go for one that is Tera Ground, so I don't have to waste any Tera Shards trying to change his type. So I think that's just what I'll do for that. And I also have a Rotom here from a raid. Already Tera Electric, that's great. I just need to Bottlecap him. And I could breed this as well, but I won't. And that leaves Arcanine as the only thing I don't have. So I will have to catch and breed an Arcanine unless I find one in a raid. So let's go ahead and go through the breeding process. So one of the important things you need to know for breeding is you need a Pokemon with Flame Body in your party. I think Steam Engine also works. And Magma Armor, maybe. But Flame Body is very easy. Volcarona and Larvesta always have it. Fletchinder and Talonflame always has it. If you catch them in the wild, they always have it. So they're very easy to find, very easy to get a hold of, and what this does is it makes eggs hatch faster. You can combine this with an egg power sandwich to make eggs hatch even faster. So a lot of things you can do. You also would really prefer a Ditto. A Ditto with at least 4 IVs. 5 or 6 is preferable. This one's 4. So we're gonna be using this Ditto. So the first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to specifically pass on a trait. So you notice the Amoonguss we had in Showdown had a 0 speed IV. 0 is not best. So I need an Amoonguss with 0 speed. Now the way this works is Pokemon are separated into what are called egg groups. Pokemon can breed with any Pokemon in that group, and ditto. And then there are some Pokemon who just can't breed at all. So if, let's say, for example, I'm going to go over to Cerebi.net. Cerebi is a great Pokemon resource. I'm going to come to Scarlet and Violet Pokédex. I'm going to find Amoonguss. Amoonguss is from Unova. And look at that, it's right there. So we scrolled on to Amoonguss. Egg group, grass. So if I click on this, this will show me every Pokemon that Amoonguss can breed with. So I need to find a partner for Amoonguss that has a 0 speed IV. It needs to be something in here. Now, since my Amoonguss is male, I'm going to need to breed it with Ditto until I get a female one. And I have the Regenerator ability. Regenerator is a hidden ability, meaning it only passes down a percentage of the time. So I need to specifically get a female Amoonguss with Regenerator. I accidentally did not switch over to the game when I was saying this, but you just need to make the great peanut butter sandwich for Egg Power 2. Very easy, 3 ingredients. I'm going to throw them up on screen. Bananas, peanut butter, and butter for an Egg Power level 2 sandwich. Very simple. This makes eggs hatch faster. This makes you get eggs faster. And yeah, very simple. So when you are breeding with Ditto, yeah, you only want Ditto and the Pokemon you want a baby of. Because if everything is in your party, everything can breed with Ditto. So that egg could be very random. But this way we know this egg is only going to be a fungus. So you get eggs by interacting with the picnic basket right here. I already picked up several, so yeah, we already got them. Now, important thing to note as well, especially if you are breeding just at all, make sure your Ditto is holding the Destiny Knot item. This makes it so that when the Pokemon breed, 5 of their IVs from both parents, 5 of these will be inherited by the baby. So it's completely at random though, but the more better IVs they have, the better chance the baby has of having better IVs. Like, so there's, of the 12 possible IVs it could pull, 9 of them are best. So it's entirely possible that with just these 2, I have a baby with 5 perfect IVs, maybe even 6. Because the 6th one will be random, but this could easily well just pull 5 of these best ones. That's not what I'm trying to go for right now, but yeah. So we're going to make sure we put Volcarona back in our party. We're going to put these 2 out, and we're just going to pop eggs in and go run around for a little bit. I know I didn't completely fill up my party. I had to do it in 2 batches anyway. So now we're just going to hop on our ride Pokemon and just run around for a little bit. So I hatched all my Fungus, and only one of them was a female with Regenerator. So she actually had 5 perfect IVs, which is really great. Now the only issue is I have to get that speed IV to 0. Now unfortunately I don't have anything in the grass egg group with a 0 speed IV, but I do have Meowscarada, who is in both the grass and field egg groups, and I do have Oranguru, who is in the field group, and he has a 0 speed IV. So since these are both in the field group, Oranguru can pass the bad speed IV to a baby Sprigatito, and the male Sprigatito can then pass that on to this Fungus. So the way that works is with the power items that I mentioned in the EV guide. Each one of them corresponds to a certain stat, and if one of the Pokemon holds that item during breeding, that specific stat is guaranteed to be passed down. It doesn't matter who's holding the Destiny Knot. 5 random ones are being passed down, but now one of those 5 is going to be this no good speed. Hopefully the rest come from the Oranguru's best, but it'll be okay, because if not, the Fungus here can make up for it. So I'm just going to breed these until I get a male. Very easy, 87.5% chance. I probably only have to hatch like 3 eggs, just to make sure. And then I will breed that baby Sprigatito, also holding the power anklet, with the Fungus, and until I can get a appropriate baby, preferably female, and then I can breed the female with the male that I had earlier, since he had 5 IVs. So we can have the best chance of getting a 0 speed IV, 5 everything, best everything else Amoonguss. So I will come back when that is done. Should not take too long. We are back. Only hatched 4 eggs. Found this one, 4 IV, no speed, regenerator. Works well enough for what I need. We can always just bottle cap the HP up. Not a big deal. I think we need to get to about level 50 anyway to get access to both Spore and Rage Powder. So yeah, since we're already there, might as well just use the 1 bottle cap. So yeah, and we would pretty much just repeat that process for Hariyama when we're breeding. We breed it with the Ditto, and we just keep replacing the Hariyama with every baby that is better. Eventually until we just get a Hariyama that fits our liking with the 0 speed IV. And again, we would do the exact same thing we did for Amoonguss to get 0 speed, and keep it all the way through. Also, if one of the parents holds Everstone, that makes it so the nature will always pass down to the baby, which is very useful if you're not also trying to pass down a very particular IV. Otherwise, we can just use mints, which actually I'm about to get into. So let's go ahead and just for the sake of like giving you guys an example here, Arcanine's the only thing I don't have. I'd have to go catch one real fast or get one from a raid, doesn't matter. But for the most part, you guys can see just like, this is just an example of how to get a team ready. So now that we have bred or gotten our Pokemon to where we've beat, let's assume they're there. If we let's go to Montenevera. This is where we use the bottle cap to make our Pokemon's IVs improved. You can't get a Pokemon's IVs to 0 through an item, so it has to be through breeding. So you have to unfortunately do it the long way if that's what you're trying to do. But you just fly here, and the guy is literally right here. Again, the Pokemon has to be level 50 or above. It's called hyper training. It's like, yeah, let's do it. So he'll show us the eligible ones. Now for this one, let's just say we are working on this Gengar, right? Or this Garchomp, right? We want his defense and HP to be good. We're not really using his HP. So we're going to use just regular bottle caps, because gold gets all of them, but we're only getting 2 stats here. So we'll just raise HP and defense. And we hit start the training. And Garchomp's hyper training is complete. So if we take a look at Garchomp, we have to go to the boxes to see this. If we go to Garchomp, it says hyper trained. Now, one thing to note, that if you are breeding, hyper trained stats count as whatever their original IV was. So these don't count as best, they count as whatever they were in terms of breeding. So don't think that you can breed your hyper trained Pokemon and have a baby with perfect IVs come out. It won't happen. So now let's look at natures. We can change natures. Again, let's use Garchomp as an example. His nature, or her nature, is mild. That's not what we wanted. The Garchomp we were using on Showdown had a jolly nature. So we're going to go down to our mints. You can get these at any Chansey store. And we're going to take a jolly mint, and we're going to throw it on Garchomp. Garchomp stats may have changed, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. We can see here by the arrows, speed up, special attack down, that is jolly nature. It's not going to say it here, it's going to say whatever the original nature is. Because if you try to use the Everstone to pass the nature down, it's going to pass the original on as well. So anything that you have altered does not pass down. Same thing for Tera types. Tera types do not pass down. A baby will always have a Tera type that is one of its original typings. So that Water Tera on Garchomp will never pass down to baby Gibbles. We've done EV training. EV training is in the video. Let's say we want to change the Tera type. We are going to come down here to Medali, and we're going to go to the restaurant. They actually say this after you complete the gym, but you need 50 Tera shards of a type to change a Pokemon's Tera type to that. So we're just going to come in here to the restaurant. And we're going to talk to the chef. So these are the ones I currently have 50 or more of. I would just say, yes, I brought Steel. And we wanted Hariyama to be Steel. So Hariyama is now the Steel Tera type. We're going to pretend that he is where he is supposed to be right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at Hariyama. And yep, his Tera type is now Steel. So at this point, you have bred your team if needed, or you're just using them from raids, or you're just using them as you caught them. You have bottle capped them to where they needed to be, or bred them to where they needed to be. You have changed their Tera type if necessary. You have EV trained them, which you should be doing, and change their nature if you need to. Now all you have to do is just give them the appropriate items. Some of these you may have picked up randomly. The rest you can get from Delibird stores in any town. Now the selection varies depending on the town in question. Not every town carries the same stock for battle items. So for example, Levincia has different battle items than Mesa Goza. So if you just zoom in all the way, you can see Chansey Supply, Delibird Presents, just find that in any store. Some items will be the same, but some will be different, so you just need to look around for the ones that you need, and you can always go to Cerebi again. If we are, if you really need help looking for this, let's just go over to Cerebi. We're going to, from the bottom, from the top, we're going to scroll down to Video Games, Scarlet and Violet, go over here to Item Listings, and then you can just search for the item you want. Let's say I am looking for safety goggles. It says I can get them in Levincia at a shop, and we know that's from the Delibird store. Or let's say I need the Citrus Berry. Citrus Berry I can get in raid battles, 3-star raids, these Pokemon, 4-star raids, these Pokemon. And just look for any, and it tells you how to get the items. Put it all together, and you have yourselves a competitive team. Now, how do we make sure we can use this in battles? Well, let's go ahead and go to our boxes. We are going to put these in our party, or put these in the box. Now, I'm just going to get 6 of these randomly here to show you. We're going to hit X twice to go to Battle Team. And now we are just going to hit Register to Team, put it in Team 1, Register to Team. And you gotta make sure that you don't have any 2 of the same Pokemon. It does not matter what level they are. They will automatically be set to level 50 when you go to ranked battles. So we have our team there, and now let's go to Pokeportal. We're going to connect to the internet with L, and we are going to go to Battle Stadium. I understand that, reply to the rules. And let's do ranked battles. You can do casual battles as well. And it's just going to tell you can go up in rank by doing things. We'll pick doubles because we have done. And there we go, Team 1. There is our team right there. Now, obviously, I'm not going to use this team. This is not the team that we have actually worked on, but let's pretend that we actually followed through all the steps. And yeah, there you go. You have a competitive team. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helped you out. If it did, feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to stay notified of more content, and I will see you guys next time. Until then, take care.